By day, I'm an electrical engineer who makes protons spin around so they can explode people's tumors, but by night, I do the important stuff and hide in my little cave and work on this goblin game. Okay, well, maybe it's not that important. But either way, today I want to turn back the clock and walk you through how I went from not knowing how to code to being able to make a giant game all by myself. So let's start where all great stories begin. My mom's weekly craft connection meetings. Yes, when I was transitioning from the 8th grade to the 9th grade, I was told that I should join a club. I liked math, I liked drawing a bit, and I liked video games, but unfortunately there isn't a math, drawer, gamer club at my high school. Maybe that's normal elsewhere. Fortunately for me though, my mom had a close friend that she knew from her crafting group that she was in. Oh, no, not that kind of crafting. There we go. And her friend had a son on the school's robotics team. I was nervous about it, but they gave me a little tour of their workshop and showed me their basketball shooting robot that they made for the competition the previous year, and I absolutely loved it. From that point on, building robots became my whole life. I soon became the head of the electrical team and eventually became the president of the entire team. Well, I was technically co-presidents with another guy, but we agreed on our resumes we would both just put president so it looked more impressive. Anyway, I learned a bit about programming there, but I also took the AP computer science class that they offered. I only got a 3 on the test though, so I barely passed. I clearly didn't learn a whole lot. At that point, I understood like for loops and variables and stuff, but I didn't really understand how classes and structs worked or anything like that. Speaking of classes, I eventually graduated high school and moved on to college at STSU. It's ranked one of the top 10 party schools in the nation, but all I ever did was go to class and draw pixel art in the library. Now at this point, I knew I kind of wanted to make a game someday, but knew my pixel art wasn't that great. So I kept doing one pixel drawing every day for 500 days so I could get better. I had this 500 drawing prompt book thing that I would follow. I'd post them on Instagram and got a pretty decent following there doing that. I think the drawings weren't even really that great. People just wanted to see how I'd take an innocent prompt and twist it into something either nerdy or horrific. And since I was in the electrical engineering program, I had to take some coding classes too, and started to get more comfortable with it. The final thing that cinched this all together though was that I was at a little get-together with some high school friends and saw an old buddy that I hadn't seen in a while. As we talked, he ended up seeing my pixel art and told me he used a program called Unity, which is used to make games. We decided to try to make a game together, left the party early, and drove to his place to talk about it more. We didn't really have a plan, and the whole thing kind of crashed and burned, but it gave me a nice little introduction to Unity and gave me everything I needed to try to make games myself. As the years passed, I tried and failed to make some different projects and eventually settled on this one, Isle Goblin, an online multiplayer game where you're on a procedurally generated island and are trying to defeat all the human bosses. I usually describe the game as sorta Terraria mixed with Stardew Valley. Now since the last video, I've of course added some new stuff to the game, but before I get to that, I've got to talk about the sponsor for today's video. Now this is actually the coolest sponsor we've had. It's this goblin guy who's making a game about goblins. Yeah, okay, I don't have a sponsor, it's me. If you guys want, you can go wishlist the game if you feel like making the little goblin happy, and if you really want to make me a happy little goblin boy, you can like, subscribe, and leave a comment on the video. Now I can't respond to all the comments, but I do read every single one, even if they say mean things to me. So make sure to leave me something nice to look at while I'm in my meetings at work, or I'll send my goblins to go nibble on your toes. Now as I was saying, I've added some cool features to the game. First off, I've made it so you can add fertilizer to the crops to get high quality crops. This is pretty standard for games like this, just don't ask where you get the fertilizer from. I've also added some new holidays to the game. I won't give away all the details, but my favorite is this one where everyone wears vegetable hats. I've also fleshed out the NPCs, and they now have a bunch of different dialogues depending on a bunch of different factors. They also visit each other and have their own little schedules. For example, certain NPCs will spend certain days near the water if there's some water nearby, or perhaps in a town square and they'll have some special dialogues there. Or if you've also rescued their friend, they'll go visit them at lunch on Tuesdays or something like that. I've also wrapped up all the character and motion portraits. That's something I've been putting aside for a while. It was also confusing whether an NPC just had something important to say or if they were going to initiate a cutscene when they had this little exclamation mark over their head. So I made it so the regular notifications have the exclamation mark while cutscenes have a special green icon. This way you don't get sucked into a cutscene when you aren't expecting it, which I've found to be kind of annoying. Now another thing I finally added is more customization options. Previously you only had 2 hairstyles, 2 noses, and 2 eye types, but now you have all these options here. By the way, feel free to rewatch or pause the video here and see if there's anything that resonates with you. And let me know if you can't find one. I want everyone to feel like they have something they'd be happy with. I can't add everything that everyone suggests, but if there's a hairstyle that a lot of people are suggesting that I'm clearly missing, I would love for you to let me know. Now next up, I integrated the diary system more thoroughly. As a reminder, the NPCs will make a list of the desires that they have for their houses. For example, they may want to live close to a friend that they like and far from a goblin that they don't like. Or perhaps they'll want a wooden chair in their room or something. They'll write these things in their journals, which you can sneakily read and implement to get rewards and friendship with them. I've fully added this and it should be all good to go. I may reflavor this away from diaries though. It seems very very goblin-y to read a diary, but maybe not so goblin-y to write a diary. Let me know what you think. I've had some comments saying something similar. Maybe an item that lets you like spy on their dreams instead while they're sleeping would be better. That could be good. I've also written out cutscene dialogues for each character since I want them to have their own little cutscenes and story arcs. Now I just need to do all the drawings associated with those. That'll take a while, but that's next up on my list. Now here's something small and dumb that I changed. I wanted some things to be able to glow in the dark without having these light rings around them. First off, the light rings are computationally expensive, but they also light up the whole area. What if I want something to kind of glow a little bit but not be that bright that it's lighting up stuff around it? Well, with some shader magic, I've made it so things can kind of passively glow gently like this. I think it makes for some interesting areas. Speaking of small things, I've also made it so you can enter a world seed when you generate a world. This way you can play cool worlds that other people find, or try to play the same world multiple times, or whatever. You can of course type /seed to see what your seed is at any time. Now normally these devlogs have a bit more stuff. Unfortunately, I've only been working at about half my usual speed. For a really long time, this game was kind of my whole life and I was getting 40 to 50 hours on it a week on top of my full-time job. I turned myself into a bit of a hermit and spent a lot of time just sitting here grinding away on it. Now I'm glad I did, and it brought me really far, but I've learned I need to be more balanced and spend more time with my friends and focus on things that make life worth living, which I think is relationships with loved ones. I'm still grinding away whenever I can, and I will definitely finish. I'm just trying to not say no to as much social stuff. And along those lines, I have an exciting half announcement for you. Since I want more development time on this thing so I can finish it, I've been looking into some options for publishing the game so I can work full time. Now I don't want to say anything before it's finalized, but I've been talking with some publishers and I think by the next devlog I'll have some good news. Once I'm able to quit my job, I'll be able to have some serious progress on this thing and have it done much quicker with more videos. Now as is tradition with these videos, it's time to show the wishlist count for the game. They say wishlists are a good indicator of how your game will do, but it's not an exact science. In the beginning I was hoping to maybe hit 10,000, but now it looks like we're sitting at about 49,000 as I record this audio, which is absolutely insane. It's great to see people are excited for the game, and I'll make sure to take my time and not rush out any garbage. I'm also of course willing to work with the community once it does come out to make it the best it can be. And with that, I want to thank you all for dropping by, and I will see you all next time. Hello everyone, the time has come to shout out our eternally gracious patrons. I'd like to give a super special shout out to our Goblin Deity patrons for September of 2025, namely Zachary Wentworth, Zachary Neese, Zach Fox, a lot of Zachs, Tyler Rue, Tony, Slime Shisho, Sierra Kovac, Scrolls, Setmari Radu Valentin, Sam Degeldeer, Salsalu, Rafal Phoenix, Q Whippy, Player Unnamed, Osha, Noneem, Mason Underwood, Krakenfall, Keek the Moon Panda, Just Me, Joseph Scobby, Jackson Singleton, Isaiah Honor, I'm a Lil Sus, Hyper Moose, Hyper, Hank Pieters, Glass Chicken, Finn Carter, Echo the Developer, Connor Papania, Colton Reagan, Clementine, Chendrak, Cardog, Brohue, Bengo Bengo, Azazel, Aiden Edsinga, Atomic Diamond, Alzern, and 360 Yes Scope. You're all amazing and I appreciate all of the support.